Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back, or it's your first time here, welcome to my channel. My name is Jamie. If this is the first time that we're virtually meeting, I hope you enjoy my channel as well as this video. Now today, we are going to be talking all about the brand new Kylie Holiday palette. So for me, the whole purpose for these dupe videos is to really give you guys as many options as possible, because you may have certain preferences for specific brands. So not only do I have more affordable dupes here, like Colourpop dupe, Makeup Geek dupes, even L'Oreal dupes, but I do also have dupes from more expensive brands like Urban Decay, Kat Von D, Anastasia, just to give you guys as many options as possible. And if there's 1, 2, or 3 colors in here that you want to get, but you don't actually want to get the whole entire palette, these are basically all of your options. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this video and do find it helpful. Don't forget to let me know what you thought in the comments. What do you think of the Kylie Holiday palette or the Kylie palettes in general? Of course, give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy dupe videos, and let me know also what dupe video I should do for you next. I'm thinking the Anastasia Modern Renaissance or the Anastasia Mario palette, because I've been getting so many requests to do those. We've got a lot of dupes to talk about today, so let's just get right into it. So as far as the Kylie Bronze and Burgundy palette, I honestly love them. I thought the colors were beautiful, the pigmentation was really great, and they really were just really nice palettes. To be honest with you, I'm a little bit disappointed with the shades that are in here. I really feel like this palette isn't very cohesive. I don't think that the colors in here really go together very well, and I just feel like the more metallic shades don't really match up to the quality of the metallic shades in the previous two palettes. You'll see in the swatches, I just feel like they don't have a lot of like pop to them or a lot of pigment to them. This is the first time where I truly feel like the dupes that I found are significantly better than the original eyeshadows. So let's first start off with the first shade in the palette, and this one is called Sugar Cookie. This is a pretty just creamy eyeshadow that has very subtle pink undertones to it. So the 100% dupe that I was able to find is Anastasia Nude. This has the exact same soft pink undertone. The matte texture is just as creamy as the Kylie eyeshadow, honestly, if not better. Another very close color is MAC Orb. This is very similar, however, it doesn't have quite as much pink to it. It is definitely more on the creamier side. So if you like this type of like creamy white shade, but you don't want it to have that pinky undertone, then this is a great option. So next I have sort of like an honorable mention, just because this is definitely not an exact dupe. It's way more pink, but I thought that it was close enough that I would mention it. This is Makeup Geek Confection. This is a really great one if you want a matte shade that has a little bit more of a pinkier undertone. This is a really pretty color to use as a transition shade. This is the L'Oreal Color Riche eyeshadow in the shade 201 Little Beige Dress. This is actually a very similar shade, except it has a touch more of a pinkier undertone. However, actually putting these like on the eyes, you would not even be able to tell a difference. And the L'Oreal Color Riche eyeshadows are also really beautiful. Another eyeshadow range that I would definitely recommend from the drugstore. So now moving on to the next shade in the palette, which is a very intense metallic silver. This is probably my second favorite shade from the palette. I think that this metallic is actually really beautiful. It's probably the nicest metallic that's in the palette. The other ones just don't really match up to it, but this one really does glide on very creamy. I did find quite a few dupes for this shade, just because there's definitely not a lack of intense metallic silvers in the makeup world. So I have a few options here for you guys, definitely ranging from a lot of different brands. So first things first, I have the MAC eyeshadow in the shade Electra. This is of course another really intense silver shade. However, the undertone is not quite the same. I feel like this one is definitely a little bit more cool toned. So now I have an exact dupe, and this is actually a NYX eyeshadow. I was so happy when I found this dupe, because I love the prismatic eyeshadows from NYX. They are by far my favorite drugstore eyeshadow range, because they're just so great. They are really intense and metallic and have amazing payoff, and they're from the drugstore, so they're so affordable. But this prismatic eyeshadow in the shade Tin is exactly the same to Frosty, which is the shade in the Kylie palette. You could honestly not even tell the difference, especially swatched side by side, and this is probably the dupe that I would recommend the most. Now another really beautiful silver eyeshadow that I found is actually one from the Sephora eyeshadow collection, and this is called Diamonds Are Forever. Now this one I would say is a little bit more of a subtler version compared to Frosty. It is a little bit sheerer, but it still has that really pretty sheen to it, just a little bit different. And like I said, this is really great if you sort of just want like a wash of silver on the lid. Next, I have another exact dupe. This is Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow in the shade Static Age. I've mentioned this before. The Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadows are probably some of my favorite metallic eyeshadows in general. They also have quite a lot of product in here. There is 2.8 grams of product, whereas something like the NYX eyeshadow is 1.24 grams. So this next one is actually an eyeshadow from Buxom, and this is in the shade Pure Platinum, and this one is definitely probably the best silver that I've ever discovered. It almost has like a mirror-like shine to it, honestly, like metal-like qualities to it. It's so cool. So this basically has the exact same undertone as Frosty, but it's like 10 times more intense. So moving on to the next shade in the palette, which is called Chestnut, and this is a really pretty like medium blush pink. It is matte. So I do have 3 dupes here for you guys. I believe that the closest one that I was able to find is this one over here called Petal Pusher from Makeup Geek. I would say this is just maybe a touch lighter when you compare them side by side, but honestly in the crease you could really barely tell a difference. Another shade that is very similar is the color Dusty Rose from Anastasia. This one is basically identical, however I feel like this one has a little bit more beige in it, whereas the eyeshadow in the palette has a little bit more pink, but honestly again on the eyes you can barely tell a difference. I also have another alternative for you guys. If you want a shade that's similar to this but it's a little bit more pink, then Cupcake from Makeup Geek is definitely one that you should check out. So now moving on to the second row to this reddish burgundy shade called Nutcracker. I feel like she's made like a variation of the shade in all the palettes that she's created so far. I was sort of like not wanting to see it again in her holiday palette. I really feel like this red is not as intense as I would like it to be. I feel like it's really dull and just not a great shadow. So the ones that I'm mentioning today definitely are an exact dupe color wise, but they have way more of an intense color payoff, and I feel like just are a lot better generally than the one in the palette. So first things first, let's talk about Makeup Geek Burlesque. I just want to show you guys like side by side the comparison between the two. Burlesque is obviously the more intense one, and that is what I wish the Kylie eyeshadow would look like when it was actually swatched. Another nice option is Makeup Geek Showtime. This is very similar to Burlesque. I really don't see much of a difference between the two shades, so this is basically just another option for you. Now moving on to Winter, which is the electric blue in the palette. So this shade I was honestly really disappointed by. When you're wearing like an electric blue eyeshadow, you want it to be electric blue. You don't want it to be like electric blue. Similar to the red shade, the colors that I did put together I feel like are worlds better than the one from the Kylie palette, so these are other just really great options. So here's the one from the Kylie palette. It's like has a very subtle sort of sheen to it, and then the ones that I have over here, the first one is another one from Makeup Geek. This is the shade Center Stage. This is one of her foiled eyeshadows. It definitely has a little bit more violet in it, and it has way more of a foiled sheen compared to the Kylie eyeshadow. Another really great Makeup Geek option is Nutcracker. Now this is a great option if you don't want an electric blue that is overly metallic or overly intense. This definitely has a metallic sheen to it, but it is not quite as foiled as say Center Stage, so I feel like it's a little bit more wearable. Another really beautiful option that I have here is Anastasia Star Cobalt. This is basically the exact same shade to Makeup Geek Center Stage, so here's just another option for you guys in case you already have this in your collection. Then you have the Kylie blue eyeshadow in your collection. Okay, so this shade from the Sephora collection is called Long Lasting, and this is another really great option. It's exactly the same compared to the other ones. You could see on my hand all the shades basically look identical. So next I have a gorgeous blue from Urban Decay. When you touch it, it is just like so buttery and smooth. It is called Evidence. Again, exactly the same compared to all of the other ones. Really not much else to say about it. Lastly, I have another affordable option for you guys. This is the L'Oreal Color Riche eyeshadow in the shade Grand Bleu. This color is not quite exactly the same, but it is definitely still in the same like color family. I would say this one just has more of like a brighter quality to it. You could see compared to the other ones, it pops just a little bit more. This is really dangerous that I'm wearing like a bright white shirt, swatching all these colors on my arm. I just like to live on the edge apparently. So now moving on to the purple shade in the palette, which is called Nutcracker. This is basically a soft, dusty, metallic purple shade. I did find 2 shades that I would consider to be dupes. The first one that I have over here is called Utopia, and this one is from Anastasia. Basically the exact same color. I would say that the only difference is that Utopia has, I feel like, a touch more burgundy in it and a little bit less purple. Another very similar shade is another Anastasia one called Not Today, and I would say that this one is identical. And I feel like this shade is what the Kylie shade should have been. It does have a little bit more of that like extra boost of intensity. All right, so now moving on to the last row. This color over here is called Gingerbread, and it's basically like a taupey bronzy metallic shade. This is another shade that I feel like is in her other two palettes that I wish she would have swapped out for something else. I really feel like this shade just doesn't go with the rest of the palette. That's just my thoughts once again. I do want to mention though that the quality for this specific shade is definitely a lot nicer than the other metallics. This is like what I wish the other metallics were like. It is really buttery, has a really nice intense payoff. The exact dupe that I found is Anastasia Chiffon. Could not tell the difference. They look exactly the same side by side. I would say the only difference, if any, is that Chiffon is maybe like a hair more gold, but barely. All right, so now moving on to the middle shade in the last row, and this is definitely my favorite shade in the whole entire palette. It is called Evergreen, and it is just a matte forest green. It is the color that I'm wearing as my eyeliner today. The first one is Time Travel from Makeup Geek. Now this one is very similar. I would say that Time Travel definitely has a little bit more blue in it, so it makes it overall more of a turquoise shade. Another dupe that I have over here is a MAC shade. Now I actually don't have the exact name because I covered it by mistake, but I will uncover it and put the name right over here as well as in the description box. This is basically exactly the same to Makeup Geek, which in turn makes it very similar to Evergreen, and that's why I wanted to mention it. It's another matte as well. So now moving on to the last shade in the palette, which is called Silent Night, and this is basically a really deep like blackened plum. So I did find two dupes for this one. The first one is from Colourpop, and this is the shade Doe Deer. Now I'm pretty sure that Doe Deer was actually a holiday exclusive last year, so I wasn't really sure if I wanted to mention this because I don't think you could actually buy this one now, but some of you actually may have in your collection, so I figured I would mention it anyway just in case some of you already had it. So I did find another shade though that I feel like is even a closer dupe. So I would say that an exact dupe is definitely Shadowy Lady from MAC. It's the exact same shade, it's the same texture, the same everything. So that completes all of my dupes for the Kylie Holiday palette. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. As always, do not forget to let me know what you thought in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are on this palette. Are you going to pick up some dupes? What colors are your favorites? Honestly, anything and everything you can say, just leave it down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed dupes and you would like to see more, and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.